Hey, this is Cameron. Welcome back to the Busy Gardener channel. If you're like me, you watch these gardening YouTube videos and it seems like everything these people just works. They've got a green thumb. I mean, like look at this Arctic star nectarine loaded with fruit. But the picture isn't always as rosy as it first appears. And the truth is that we've got some real bears up here. In this video, I'm gonna share with you 5 things that I think have kind of gone off the rails for us this last year, as well as some things I'm gonna do to fix those things. And we're gonna keep it real. Let's get busy. One of the things that I love about gardening is actually the struggle. You know, the possibility of failure makes the victory that much more sweet and satisfying, along with the fruit and vegetables that you get to eat. Those are sweet and satisfying also. But, you know, victory is not assured. You've got to work for it, and sometimes things fail. In fact, before we go any further in the video, why don't you let me know in the comments below something that has failed in your orchard or garden, something you had hopes for that just isn't panning out. See, I view these things as opportunities to learn and to get better. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. Are they failures or are they opportunities? Depends on how you look at it. Let me show you the first one. The first thing that I consider a failure up here in the orchard, honestly, is this Honeycrisp apple. Honeycrisp apple is a beautiful apple, so tasty. We love buying it, we love eating it, but it truly requires more chill hours than we are able to get here. That and this tree in particular has just not grown that much. This has been in the ground for something like 4 years and it's still this mini one. I've not really even pruned it. I'm feeding it with nitrogen. I'm doing a bunch of things. And we had a bunch of pest damage down here which ate away a bunch of the cambium layer, so it's not getting as many nutrients. And this has just been sitting here. I still don't see any budwood. I consider this a failure for me and for my setting. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna replace this tree with another avocado. It's actually a B-type avocado because all of the avocados I have are A flowers, and this B flower is going to help to pollinate those and give them a much larger fruit set. So in the space of this one tree, I'm going to not only get avocados on it, on the bacon avocado that I put in, but I'm going to get 5 to 20% more avocados on the other ones. So that for me is how I'm going to fix this. Really bummed out this hasn't worked, but that happens sometimes. Okay, I will call this failure 1.5 because it's also apples. It's kind of like the Honeycrisp over there. These apples and just apples in general have not done that great for me here, with the exception of the low chill variety like this Dorset Golden apple. But this Gala and this Granny Smith apple, they just haven't grown that much. These have been in the ground for 6 years and have fertilized them, have watered them. But they've got some pest damage at the bottom which has impacted it. Maybe the watering's inconsistent. Maybe I planted them a little too deep given the soil that we have here, so they might be struggling there. I don't entirely know what's happening. I don't want to give up on apples though, so even if I end up having to replace that one with a lot of damage. All right, let's go on to number 2. Look at all of these berries. Beautiful, tasty, ripe. But I told you before, the looks can be deceiving. And so as you see here, the rest of our boysenberry patch here is kind of struggling and not doing that well. I'm going to tell you what's going on with this thing. While it's true that there are a bunch of ripe berries on these plants, I mean, they've got a lot of these boysenberries. Come on. The flavor's there, that's great. I was at Knott's Berry Farm recently and I saw their berry patch and all of their berries were just full of foliage. You know, and that's what converts that sunlight into energy for the plant, and that's a sign of a healthy plant, of a healthy berry plant. And then I was struck, I was like, my berry plants don't look like that anymore. They've really gotten sparse this year, and there are 3 main reasons why I think that is. The first is I let the mulch layer disappear. And the mulch layer is going to keep moisture in the ground. It's going to break down and provide additional organic material into the soil. And it's going to, just protect that crown that's down there in those roots. The second is the watering has been less consistent because of the construction we've been doing. So there's been less water and it's been less consistent. And the third is we haven't fed these plants as regularly. And these plants need nutrients in order to grow and to continue to produce foliage and fruit year after year. So even though these are fruiting this year, and I'm really happy about that, The truth is I want to support flowering and cane growth for subsequent years, so that way we've got a long time of fruiting here. So these triple crown blackberries are showing me foliage-wise more so what it ought to look like over there with those boysenberries. See how sparse that is down there? Whereas it's a lot more full on this half where the triple crowns start. That's what we're trying to go for. So that's what I'm going to change this year. You can already see I've put some mulch down, I've given it more water, and I'm feeding it more regularly, hoping that next year this looks even better. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, the third thing that I think is not going well up here is honestly my dragon fruit. Now, that you might say that thing is growing. Why do you say that? And it's true, this thing has fruit growing on it. It bloomed, we were able to get it pollinated. It is doing its thing. It's got all of these, this extra growth coming off that I've taken some off of and have started new plants. Super excited about that. What isn't working out, however, is the structure for this. You notice that this entire thing is leaning over here, and that's because I use this drainage pipe in order to do it. But these get so top heavy that this is just tipping over and bending, and it's losing its internal structure. And so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with this. I am going to be building some new dragon fruit towers, similar to like what Kevin Espiritu and Richard with grafting dragon fruit do. It's going to be a wood structure, and I'm creating a dragon fruit alley also. I'm excited about that. But for this one, what I think I'm going to do is I may open up the top of it and drop in some sort of other reinforcement inside there, maybe straighten it up and put like pipe or something in the middle of it just to give it some internal structure. But this has really made me so worried and made me not that enthusiastic about it. Another, by the way, is the placement. I have to walk through all this sharp and spiny pomegranate in order to get there. So that's like a little bonus, what I don't like about it. So happy with the dragon fruit, not happy with the structure. All right, let's move on to number 4. Okay, failure number 4 is unfortunately this mango tree.
Oh.
This mango is at the corner of our property, and it's been planted here for 6 years, and I'm so bummed out that this thing is just struggling. You notice there's not a ton of full canopy here. Some of the leaves are getting this kind of probably maybe some salt damage at the end of it. We've got this serious bark damage, which I think has made the biggest difference for this tree, because you've got this entire strip of cambium layer that's gone. So it's really only getting its nutrients from the backside of the tree, going all the way up. This thing has fruited for the last 3 years. It's set flowers, it's had these little fruit, and then the entire thing, all of those fall off. This thing unfortunately has to go. I'm going to be replacing it either with another mango, which I'm going to plant higher, because again, we used to have these eucalyptus trees here, which has made drainage a real problem right here. So I might plant those on a mound and see if that alleviates it. Really bummed out because we love mango, would love for this to work. Don't know quite which way I'm going, but for now, it's a failure. Okay, now it's time to go and see the biggest failure, in my opinion, up in this orchard. It's been an ongoing failure. You're gonna cry just like I've cried for the last few years with this thing. Let's go look at number 5. Okay, so our 5th and what I think biggest failure up here in the orchard are our blueberries. And it pains me to say that, because we planted a bunch of these blueberries 8 years ago, 9 years ago in a couple of cases. This is before I planted this main orchard up here. I had them in these containers down there, and they just have failed. We've replaced some of them, they die. And I think the reason is because they're in containers, and container plants require more attention than plants in the ground. In our climate, however, we're not really able to plant these blueberries in the ground because blueberries require a very acidic soil, and our soil here is generally pretty basic. And so I think the things that have contributed to these being in containers and having problems is the fact that the watering has been somewhat inconsistent, whereas trees in the ground have a lot deeper base that they're able to draw from, and plants in the ground, these are limited to whatever's in that container. Another thing has been the acidity of the soil. You've got to come back and fertilize these, lower the acidity number, but raise the acidity level in order for these blueberry plants to thrive. That hasn't happened. I haven't fed them regularly, whereas plants in the orchard, really I'm feeding 3 times, January, the end of January, the beginning of April, the end of June. These things have to be fed monthly, and that requires more attention, which I haven't given them. So these are neglected. They don't thrive on neglect, obviously, but here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna replace the dead ones. I'm gonna clear out all of this brush, these boysenberries that are the happiest when they're here smothering these blueberries. And I'm gonna replace these. I've already got some replacement blueberries. I've got some soil acidifier. I've got some solid mulch that I'm gonna put on the top, and we're just gonna give these blueberries another shot. I know they can do it in this climate, partly also because my neighbor across the street just got some blueberries and they're going crazy. You know what he's doing? Dumping coffee grounds on it. So it turns out blueberries like coffee almost as much as we do. Anyway, these have been just such a disappointment. I have some hope, but these are a dismal failure as they stand right now. What's that saying, how success isn't owned, but it's rented, and the rent is due every day? If you want to be a successful gardener, that means you're going to have to be willing to embrace a certain amount of failure. Not everything is going to go perfectly, but the way that you view that and your mindset is going to make the biggest difference. If you approach each setback as you being a failure, you're going to get stopped. But you can view each failure as an opportunity to succeed in another way. Whether in a garden that means growing a new type of plant, or changing a plant, or changing how you're approaching something with the plant, or whatever it might be. But failure comes with the game. There's nobody who ever did anything important that never failed. And so I want to just encourage you and challenge you to embrace the failure. You don't have to settle for it. Work at it, fight at it, but it doesn't define you. So I hope that this has given you a behind the scenes look, an inside look into the things that fail on a regular basis for me. And hopefully that has given you some emotional cover to be willing to try, even if it means you're going to make mistakes along the way. I appreciate you tuning into this episode of The Busy Gardener, where we pulled back the curtain and hopefully encouraged you with it. Well, whether you've got one thing failing in your orchard or 500, until next time, stay busy.